Thanks so much for joining us. This is our last episode of the season and of the 2024 year. So, as we come to this close, it is the perfect time to set our intentions for what we want to see happen next year and also be grateful for all of the progress that we have seen this year so far. And if you're listening to this episode, know that you've already made progress because you're trying to make things better. You're trying to learn, right? So, that in and of itself is going to be more progress because not knowing what you don't know doesn't really help anything, right? You didn't make any progress when you were just doing the same old thing day in and day out, right? So, by listening to podcasts like this, or reading our blog, or interacting with us on Instagram or YouTube, that's a step towards learning, towards a growth mindset and making changes so that their future selves are different from the ones that you're currently seeing, right? In the best way possible. So, congratulate yourself on, working hard this year to make some differences and see some changes in your child's mealtime and ultimately their health, right? So, I have some tips on how we can set our intentions really functionally for the new year moving into. It doesn't even have to be 2025. You might be listening to this years from now, but I think it's still going to be the exact same message, no matter what the year is. Because every year we have an opportunity. There's always like that opportunity cost, right? But we always have an opportunity to make different choices, make changes in our routines, right? What we focus on and spend our money and attention towards, right? Those are the things that is going to grow. You might one year spend a lot of money, focus, and attention on sports, right? Maybe traveling sports and different teams and a lot of that sort of after school stuff. And other years, you might be more health focused, where maybe you're not doing that every day. And maybe you're sitting down to dinner every day. Every year is going to be different choices that you make, right? So just acknowledging that the progress you see during the year, if you look back, what did you spend the most time and attention on, right? What did you spend money towards? Was it more towards, experiences? Was it more towards things? Maybe it was trips. Maybe it was health, right? And none of those necessarily are bad choices, but just recognize that the cumulative success and progress that you see at the end of a year is a result of all of the different choices and decisions that you've made up until this point. So if you're not happy with your progress with eating for whatever reason, look back and see what type of attention and you've been giving it, right? So you might have been giving it some attention, right? But maybe we need to shift and make different choices about what type of attention it's been getting, right? Was it more of a behavioral approach that maybe wasn't working? Or maybe it wasn't the right fit with the right therapist? That happens sometimes, right? So just making some conscious choices as we move into the new year can really change things for the better. In the last episode at the very end, um, I sort of almost dedicated it to the parents of my program that had started in January. And now at the end of the year, their kids have a totally different relationship with food. And I said, it's totally on you guys, right? I didn't do that. Yes, I helped guide you, but that was all you. Those were a combination of the choices you made to sit down and watch the video, to invest in your child's health, to watch and do our evaluation and to see what your child's strengths and weaknesses were. It was about taking time every day to implement some changes, right? That's all them. They made that magic happen. Yes, we're here to guide you, but they made the changes. So they really deserved all the praise and celebration. And I really hope that that's you at the end of next year. I hope we are celebrating you and all of the tremendous accomplishments that you have made throughout the year with your child in regards to their health and wellness, right? Because we need to eat to survive for the rest of our lives. It's probably one of the most important skills that you can't really live without, right? So let's just spend some time reflecting on some goals. So I want you to take out a piece of paper, or if you're driving, just think about it, or maybe come back to this episode. But jot down, what do you want to see your child be doing a year from now? What does it look like at mealtime? Who's at the table? What are the conversations? What kind of food is on the table? Is everyone smiling? Right? Think about these things. What do you want to see? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Okay. That's what you need to write down. I want you to envision, what would be your ideal? What does it look like? Okay. How do your kids talk about food? When you put a new food down, what's their reaction? Right? So I want you to get deep and envision what that is for your child. Okay? What does that look like? And what does that look like for all the other people there? Right? How does that affect you, your spouse, the other kids, if there are any? Right? What's the down chain effects? Are they more focused in school maybe because they're eating well? Do they need distractions? Or can they just sit and enjoy the meal? What does it look like when you go on vacation? What does it look like when they get invited to a birthday party? What does it look like when there's a big holiday feast and there's a lot of people and new foods and smells around? What does it look like then? Get really deep. Okay. So, this is an episode you should definitely come back to and pause and go really slow. Try to answer all those questions. If you can lay out a vision for what that looks like, you are already have made a tremendous amount of progress, right? Because if you can't hold the vision for what it's going to look like, how are you going to get there? Where are you going? It's like starting a road trip in a car with no direction and no map. It's like, well, you want to go somewhere. You want it to be a good experience, but where are you going? How are you getting there? You got to have that vision laid out very clearly and well defined if you want to actually get there. Because if you're starting in New York and you don't know where you're going, but now let's flip it. Now we do know where we're going. We're going to Los Angeles. We're going to see the Hollywood side. We're going to see Grauman's Chinese Theater. We're going to go down to Santa Monica. We're going to see the beach. We're going to the pier. It's going to look like this. It's going to be sunny. We're going to have fish tacos, and we're going to go to a brewery, and we're going to check out a winery, right? List it out. What does it look like? Can you see it? It should be clear. It should be clear in your mind what that experience is going to look like. Just like you'd plan a trip, you need to plan for this journey as well. Okay. So that's your first assignment. um, you know, I also want you to think about what type of an environment you want to create. What type of memories do you want in the future? When you're looking back, maybe it's 20 years into the future, but when you look back and you say, oh, remember when the kids were little? What do you want to remember about mealtime? Do you want to remember that you struggled for 10 or 15 of those years with food, that battles were at the table every night? Or do you want to remember how things were a little bit tricky, but then I really turned things around? I really got serious about it. I really learned what to do, what not to do. I made some changes and things really started to progress from there, right? So think about now you're in the future, you're looking back. What are you what is the take home memories, the core memories of meal times with your kids? What do you want to remember about that? Okay. So once you have this vision laid out, now we can break it down into smaller, manageable goals and parts. Okay. You can easily break down any end goal into smaller chunks and then within that, even smaller sub goals into baby steps. Right. And I'm a big advocate for embracing the baby steps because it starts with baby steps and soon before you know it, they're running. And then they're leaping, leaps and bounds, right? But you got to start with baby steps. No infant is going to just start running. They stumble and they fall and they crawl and they learn to walk and they take those baby steps. But then after practice, those baby steps build and they can start to move a little faster. And before you know it, they're running, right? It's really not that different. It's the same concept. You can't expect a child who's afraid of food to switch on a dime. It's going to take baby steps. Just like they're learning to walk, they have to learn how to eat. Okay. So think about how you might want to break up those goals. And if you're struggling with this, that's what your feeding coach is here for, right? So, of course, I want you to join us in our Unlocking Mealtimes course, Fearful to Foodie Transformation Program, where we give you a one-to-one assessment, we do gut testing, we get to the bottom of why your child is struggling and give you a roadmap of how to get from the beginning of your journey to the end of the journey, right? All the way to foodie, New York to LA, the end of the journey, right? So we can break those down. You can figure it out on your own. You can break down that vision into smaller, manageable steps. Okay. Set some realistic, achievable, small baby step goals to start with. Okay. And, it's going to be a lot more than you think about your attitude and your mindset than you probably thought, right? It's a journey, not just for your child, but for you. I always say that. So we want to try to maybe focus on even some personal goals for you, not just for your child and what you want the vision to look like, but what needs to change in you, in your routines, in the way you speak or do something that maybe also needs to change. How do we focus more on connection with food than controlling the environment and what they eat? Right? So, setting some personal goals for you as well is going to be important. Um, you know, there's a lot of success stories I could probably share, but I think my own journey is a success story in a way. It's not as grand as some of our kids that have started with the most fearful to where they got, but honestly, the journey for every parent is going to be like its own major success story in some way, right? Because no matter where you start, there's there's enough of a struggle to reach out and try to learn more, right? So, wherever you're starting, however severe or however fearful they might be or not be, maybe they're not that severe and fearful. That would be great. But wherever it is on that spectrum of challenge for you, always know that that's not where you have to end up. That's not the final destination. That's just the beginning of a whole different story or chapter. So, you know, think about how you can set your intention for 2025 or beyond for what it is that you are creating and changing. And, you know, I want you to save it because it's going to be amazing when you find that piece of paper and you realize that the vision has come true and that you did make that happen. And it was just such an incredible journey. And you're so grateful for the experience and how much better you are for all of that challenge. That maybe I know you suffered and you cried and you wanted them to be different or feel differently about it, but having all the challenge led you to this wonderful place you are now. And I bet you could look back and say, yeah, but if we didn't do that, or if he wasn't like that, then we wouldn't have done this, or we wouldn't have learned this lesson, right? So just keeping that in mind and remembering that you are their love, their patience, their foundation for not just their progress in eating, but their progress in life. And, whatever lessons you learn on this journey, I'm sure you will be able to take them and apply them to different areas of your child's life. So, I thank you again for a wonderful year, for a wonderful season of learning and growing and exploring this topic more. Um, just when I think I can't talk about feeding anymore, there's just so many more things that I come up with to share. And I love sharing what I know. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I do have so much to share. I love sharing about foods and toxicities, and I do have so many different interests, but I do think that our kids and us, we can't be healthy without eating good quality, healthy, real foods. And I know that if we can start to get our kids who are eating processed foods off of that and eating real foods, that is going to just transform health in this country and beyond in ways that we can't even imagine. It's going to be amazing. And I think that's my main goal with this podcast and with my program is I want to help create a generation of healthy children that are unburdened by disease and autoimmune conditions and cancers. And, there's so much we can do to change the trajectory of our health. But I honestly think, even though there's a lot of other things we can do with toxins and water and all of that, that it still comes down to the food that we use to fuel our day and our bodies. If you put orange juice into your into your car's engine, it's not going to work well or at all, right? So the fuel that you use and put into your body matters, just like it matters to a car, even more so, right? The car breaks, you buy another one. You can't buy another body, right? You can't just replace your intestines if you've destroyed your intestines, right? They don't swap those out. Okay. We don't want a generation of unhealthy kids. We want our kids to be happy and healthy and thriving, right? So I think that's my goal. And the vision that I'm holding for next year is that there's going to be so many parents wanting to also hold that vision with me, and that they want their kids to be healthy, happy, and free of disease as well. And parents that realize that the best way to get there is by eating real whole foods every day. So I can't wait to hear what your visions are. What you want to see next year. Please share them with me. I'd love to hear what they are. You can DM me or follow us on YouTube and write in the comments. What do you want your child's future to look like? Whether that be next month, by the end of next year, or by the end of their childhood, by the end of their life. What kind of life do you see for them? And how does food play into that? You know? So, things to think about. We're taking a break. We'll come back in January again with a new season, season 3. And in the meantime, take these next few weeks to slow down and write and journal about the things I talked about here today. And, if you feel that we're a good fit to help you on that journey, I'm happy to assist. And if we're not, that's cool too. I'm still here giving you free content. I love doing what I do. But if we are a good fit, I can't wait to help you and see you on the inside. You can visit us at foodologyfeeding.com/courses. We also have tons of blog posts, short videos that you can watch. And if you want to find out what type of eater your child is and the next steps for how to get help, you can do that at thepickeyeaterstest.com. Take our free, it's like a 2-minute quiz to figure out what level of severity your child is so that you have a starting point and you know where to go from there and how much effort you're going to have to put into making some changes, right? It's good to know. And it'll get you started on your journey with us for sure. So I will see you guys in the next year, and I hope you have a very happy holiday. And hopefully, your visions for the future are very bright and positive. I'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater. To learn more about achieving your child's feeding goals, check out Christine's website at foodologyfeeding.com. And be sure to tune in next time to How to Unpicky Your Picky Eater.